welcome to this week's Soap Secrets for the 11th to the 17th of September. I'm Claire Ruck and Hannah Fernandez is on holiday this week. We have Victoria Wilson with us today to talk all things Holby City, and we will not be discussing Casualty this week because Casualty is on a break because it's the last night of the Proms. So, hello Victoria.
Hi Claire.
You left us with a cliffhanger last week.
Yes, yeah. Holby is really sort of upping the ante at the moment. You know, unlike other shows when there's a bomb threat and some Cape Crusader swoops in to save the day sort of right in the nick of time, Holby has to go one better, and last week's bomb alert turned out to be very, very real. And as the clock sort of counted down, it exploded, sending shockwaves and more through the corridors of the hospital. So as the dust settles this week, Holby's understandably in a sort of state of disarray, and there are obvious questions about who survived the blast. Serious question marks over the fate of Holby boss Has Hanssen. Obviously, he was the one sort of leading the evacuation effort, trying to get everybody out. Did he get out?
So Hanssen can't die. He can't die. He's one of my favourites.
Yeah, well, you know, they like to throw a curveball every now and again. You've also got, obviously, Bomber Cameron. He set the device, but he was chained to his hospital bed as the clock counted down. Safe to say he wasn't going anywhere. And then, of course, we have his back from the dead mother, Bernie. What's been her fate? The story was that she died in a blast, but then she was back. Has she actually now died in a real blast?
Is she really? I mean, could she be sort of a figment of Cameron's imagination, perhaps? Do you think? Or she's really, really there?
Well, we'll have to wait to find out. I guess the question marks over those three is will they all live to tell the tale? Obviously, some of the hospital has managed to shoulder some of the destruction, shall we say. So there are various other things going on in the hospital as they try to get back up and running. Okay,
and we left Ange, didn't we? She was, and her twins, they were having a blood transfusion and then it turned into a C-section.
Yeah. There will be concerns over Ange, who, as you say, she was undergoing a blood transfusion for her unborn babies at the exact moment that the call came to say there was a bomb at the hospital. Remember, Chloe took the call. So now the surgeon who was performing the procedure, he is injured. So Chloe and Josh sort of find themselves in the unenviable position of having to perform the C-section themselves to save the lives of Ange and the twins. So neither Chloe nor Josh has carried out this procedure before, and Josh is kind of freaking out, bless him. He's been great, this storyline. He's kind of freaking out over the idea that he's about to deliver his own babies and that he could lose the love of his life, Ange.
It is it's quite a specialist though, isn't it, maternity? So I can see why he's upset.
Yeah, but obviously the thing is for him, you know, he's a good doctor, Chloe's a great doctor. But you know, it's his partner and her mum and their unborn siblings or children coming into the world, so it freaks them both out. So you know, it kind of falls to Chloe mostly to kind of keep her head while sort of all around them are losing theirs, as it were. And sort of, I suppose as well, knowing it was her nemesis Cameron that caused the carnage, you know, that doesn't really help matters. But, you know, I guess the question is, will we see her, as you say, will we see her be able to see that the twins come into the world safely? And there's a slight twist at the end of this storyline where it's almost like everything that's happened, what happens on the day, what's happened leading up to this point, it kind of makes Chloe think about her future, and she kind of makes a big decision. So definitely watch out for that one.
That sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's quite unexpected, but it will be interesting for.
So then we have Jeni and Fletch and that storylines.
Yeah, there's definitely more going on there. Keller has kind of it's managed to, as I say, sort of shoulder a lot of the blast. Darwin Ward has managed to shoulder quite a lot of the blast, and sort of Max McGarry is in charge of kind of rallying the troops after the incident, and she puts Fletch in charge of patient care. Making sure that everyone who has weathered the storm is all right. First on his list is Rich Peterson. If you remember, he's the man who ended up in a coma after being hit by Fletch for getting too close to his daughter Evie, unaware all along that it was his girlfriend, Fletch's girlfriend, who'd actually brought them together as part of her grooming scheme. Fletch hasn't been privy to any of this information. He's been getting all loved up with Jeni. He's, been sort of thinking that Evie, okay, she's a teenager. She's just been acting out a bit and hasn't joined the dots at any point in between. So anyway, Fletch is kind of treating Rich. It was all kind of smoothed over in terms of the incident. But Fletch kind of makes it clear to Rich that he doesn't want him anywhere near Evie. Rich, however, makes it very clear to Daddy that he has no intentions of backing off. So he kind of, after being threatened by Fletch, he kind of says to Jeni, I'm not paying good money to be spoken to like that, and kind of urges her to sort out the problem. So to sort out the problem, Jeni basically then leans on Evie again, as she has been doing, and warns her that to keep her dad out of trouble, she has to keep seeing Rich. She's very, very, very manipulative, and Evie's clearly very cautious around her now.
It's a really dark storyline, isn't it, Victoria? It's really, really dark.
Yeah, it does take a turn, at that moment. So there's all this sort of going on generally, and then mental health nurse Lucky is rushed in, and they all see her. Evie's actually been trying to call Lucky this whole time because she'd confided in her about sort of Jenny's darker side, and now all of a sudden she isn't answering her phone. So Evie's like, oh, what's gone on? Then Lucky suddenly is wheeled into Holby with a very, very serious head injury. And so then she's really frightened. She's like, oh, okay, so my one confidant is now lying unconscious in a hospital bed. And then Fletch kind of, he sort of finds out then that Lucky was actually found in Jenny's office. So then he sort of becomes quite confused himself.
It was shocking though, because we saw Lucky last week, didn't we? We saw her snooping through Jenny's office. She just thought it was financial fraud, didn't she? First of all,
yeah,
and then got the shock of her life. So something obviously untoward went on last week. Yeah.
Well, we know she uncovered something in Jenny's office, and obviously Jeni, as such as Holby, she wasn't going to go undiscovered, and Jeni made it clear that her secret was going to stay secret. So with Fletch sort of wondering, oh, okay, why has Lucky been found in Jenny's office? His confusion kind of quickly turns to anger when he checks his mobile phone. Basically, his mobile phone had been missing, we discover. It was found by Kylie outside. She sort of hands it to him and says, oh, I found this outside, I believe it's yours. And he sort of goes through it and finds that he's been sent a series of photo messages from Lucky, obviously before she sustained her injury, quote. And he's very, very disturbed by what the images reveal.
So this storyline's going to run, isn't it? It's just going to run and run, because we've still got Mia. We've still got Mia involved in all of this, and that's Donna's daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. This marks a real turning point now in what's already been a compelling storyline. The nugget was going to come when Fletch started getting suspicious. He's got this woman on his arm and she loves him and she looks gazingly into his eyes. And now I think the penny is dropping that she isn't who she claims to be, and that there is more to her. And once Fletch gets a bit between his teeth, he's sort of like a dog with a bone. So yeah, this it looks like the net could finally be closing in on evil Jeni, and it looks like Fletch could be at the heart of it.
Do we think Fletch is going to confront Jeni and there's going to be a huge row, or is she just going to try and save herself and escape and disappear?
Well, I don't know. It'll be a bit of both, my guess is. Fletch is onto her now. However, she is very, very good at covering her tracks. So, it really just depends on how much Fletch does the digging. And of course, will he have any help in order to do that? We know, obviously, as you say, Mia's involved. Could it be that Donna becomes quite an ally in this whole sort of episode? We shall see.
Yeah, and next week this must all bleed into next week as well, because there's so much going on, isn't there? So next week's going to be just as good as this week.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Everything sort of ramps up. So definitely sort of watch this space. There's definitely more to come.
Thank you very much, Victoria. That was another great week in Holby City. And don't forget, Casualty will be back next week. So do tune in next week for your favourite medical soaps. You can find us at iTunes, Spotify and YouTube. And we're also on What's on TV's Facebook page. See you next week.